of opposition to the War of 1812, the Federalists will hold a convention. And when they hold this convention, they want to discuss, okay, is there some way that we can introduce an amendment that would allow secession? Because we don't want to belong to this country that's been ruled by Jeffersonians since George Washington took the oath. There had been a Virginia president there. The only one that had not been Virginian was John Adams. Washington, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe. And for the foreseeable future, there's going to be nothing but Virginians there, Jeffersonians there. We don't want it. We don't like it. We're out of here. Okay? So they met in Hartford, Connecticut, the Hartford Convention. The problem was their timing stunk, because we had just concluded the war with Britain, and all that nationalism came surging through. And if you don't want to be a part of the United States at this particular time, you want to secede, then you're unpatriotic. You're treasonous. So the Hartford Convention will bring an end to the Federalist Party. Okay? Listen carefully. It will end the Federalist Party. It will not end the faction. The philosophical belief that Hamilton held will still go on, but the party as a organization will not. Okay? So they're going to dominate this time period. The Democratic Republicans will. Please understand and remember that the Hartford Convention destroyed the party, not the faction. You're still going to have people that believe that proto-conservative thought process. Okay, is everybody with me so far? Okay? Because you have Monroe and Madison, who are moderates, okay, they're going to look back at Hamilton's economic plan. They don't like it. They hate it, but it works. So what they're going to incorporate are called the politics of necessity. These are political things that come from across the aisle from the other party that they do not like. And based on their philosophy, they should fight it to the death. But it works for the country. And of course, the main two things are the bank and the tariff. Okay? So what you're seeing here, and guys, this is important. What you're seeing here is an acknowledgement. It's a tacit acknowledgement, but it's an acknowledgement that we don't like what the other faction has out there, but for the good of the country, we need to compromise. Okay? So this is exactly what we're talking about. Okay, is everybody good so far? Okay? Give me a second. Okay. Okay, listen carefully. And guys, this is also something for essays, okay? Anytime you're talking about political parties, anytime you're talking about any large group of people, okay? If you live in a free society, you will have factions within the factions. Okay? If people have the right to believe different things, they may belong to one faction, but have different perspectives of that faction. When that happens, you start to have cracks. Okay? The only way you can prevent that is through force. Is you have to force people to do and obey the same thing. Okay? The people who survived the Hartford Convention, the ones that wanted to stay in politics, and they realized that you cannot go out there and label yourself a Federalist after Hartford, will join the Democratic Republicans, okay? They'll be the conservative faction. At this time, there was only one public figure who was not ashamed to label himself a Federalist after Hartford, and that was John Marshall. Marshall wanted everybody to know he was a Federalist. He didn't care what happened there. Okay? The second group are moderates, Jeffersonians. When you look at the conservatives, you're looking like people like Henry Clay who would go back and forth. Okay? These are the Jeffersonians, Madison, Monroe. It's the next bunch that are dangerous, because Jackson's out there. So within the Democratic Republican Party, and remember, we call this the era of good feeling because it's a time period with one political party. But even within that party, calling it an era of good feeling is a misnomer. I sent an AP question before that asked, to what extent was this time period an era of good feeling? That's a good question, because what it appeared on the outside was not what it was on the inside. You had these internal cleavages there. And guys, always remember this. Always remember this. Anytime you have any group that has factions, that means they have weakness. That's important. Factions take away from your strength. When you take government next year with Mr. Henry, you'll talk about political parties. And you'll see that political parties are typically weakened by something called cost-cutting cleavages. For example, you have a women's bloc. Women are voters, okay? They're a powerful bloc. But you got Democratic women and you got Republican women, okay? That weakens the women's bloc. That's called a cross-cutting cleavage, okay? That's just building on this. So anytime you have anything of any size like this, if it has factions, it has a weakness. Okay? And when it has a weakness, something can always destroy it. And what's going to destroy this mess is going to be this guy. Okay? All right. And that's what we just talked about right there. Okay? Guys, this is something that sounds kind of bad, but it's true. Compromise inherently is weak. When you sit here and compromise anything, there's a weakness. Because two people sacrificed something to compromise. Each side will be weakened, okay? And when you're talking politics, especially the opposition in politics, that's what you jump on. You guys are going to see it next year when you vote for president. You're going to see it, okay? Because the Democratic Party is revealed to have a major weakness right now, okay? The head of the Democratic Party, Nancy Pelosi, does not like AOC. Okay? She does not like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because they're going off in a different direction. And Pelosi, who's the Speaker of the House, actually scolded her in public. Okay? So what's happening now is you're seeing one vision of the Democratic Party and the older vision starting to come apart. Do you think the Republicans don't know this? They'll be the ones driving that wedge next year. So this stuff right here is still applicable to today. And you always need to remember this because when you put that in essays, that's called synthesis. It's taking something historical and making it apply something in your life. Guys, readers eat that up. They absolutely eat that up. Okay? Okay.